It isn't a shock to anybody anymore about the rise of VTubers. With the explosive debut of Hololive English, I'm a massive shrimp and no one can stop me, it's clear that there's a bigger audience for this type of content than people would initially realize. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this has happened parallel to the rise in popularity of anime. It's no longer surprising to find people that have watched anime, mainstream or otherwise. On top of this, more popular YouTubers and streamers have taken notice. People like Pokimane have shown off their own VTuber avatars, and Lily Pichu has made her own as well, and it looks pretty fantastic. Even Yandere Dev is getting in on the action. Yeah. Either way, I think this type of content is fantastic for a number of reasons, and this might be a strange angle to tackle this topic, but I personally think it's mostly healthy for content creators to approach things like streaming and YouTube videos with the VTuber approach. Of course, VTubing isn't for everyone, which I'll get into, but it's got its ups. This is a video on the ups and downs of being a VTuber. I just wanted to quickly note that everything I'll be saying will be coming from the perspective of someone who doesn't have a platform. Otherwise, if you already have an established fanbase and then get into VTubing, the number of angles this topic could be taken at can vary quite a bit. Anyways, on to the meat of the topic. There's a lot of positive traits to being a VTuber that I feel like people don't really think too much as viewers. For starters, and perhaps the most obvious one, is anonymity. The problem popular streamers, YouTubers, or celebrities often deal with is how they're recognized by how they look and are sometimes harassed on the streets for pictures, autographs, interviews, or whatever. And while some people enjoy that type of attention, most people get tired of it at a point and wish they could just live their normal lives. And I think, as a nobody myself, I enjoy my private life. Knowing I can walk to a supermarket without being recognized is great. I'm a big introvert and I don't feel comfortable being approached by strangers in that way. Having an online and an offline life is comforting because your daily life doesn't have to be affected by your work. If you've seen the Trash Taste podcast, then you would know about the incident with Gekkan and his girlfriend, where a fan tried to get pictures with them after a really emotional parting.
It was like makeup spewed all over your face, kind of crying,
Right. Like he's going to war, man.
Yeah. And like I'm like comforting her, and just as we're just like hugging together, I just hear in the corner of my ear, Gigok? And I was just like,
no way.
And I was just like,
It's not even the worst part yet.
I love this story so much.
That's a yikes for me. Sick podcast, by the way. As a side tangent, I'm reminded of a story of how Michael Jackson's friend closed his grocery store for a day to let Michael shop in it so that he could experience ordinary shopping again. I can't possibly imagine how much he was heckled in the past when he just wanted to do his daily routine. And of course, that's an extreme example of unparalleled fame, but you get the point I'm making. Being able to live an ordinary life is surprisingly nice. Bringing it back, while being anonymous is a big plus in terms of maintaining privacy, there are some concerning drawbacks. For one, explicitly because VTubers are anonymous, sometimes fans get too curious about the person behind the avatar. And that curiosity sometimes leads to them going out of their way to digging into that VTuber's personal life, which feels invasive. It's almost like the fact that they're anonymous makes learning who they are that more alluring, and that's a serious privacy concern. Again, that's probably a rare concern, but nonetheless something to think about. Another downside to this is not being able to interact with fans in person. When a fan gets to finally meet and talk to someone they've watched and maybe looked up to, it's incredibly special for them, and it's an interaction they won't forget. This is a very intimate and meaningful exchange that isn't possible if you maintain your purely digital avatar in that realm. Otherwise, if you can look past these two things, anonymity is a strong positive for VTubers because it allows the actual people to have their online and their offline lives separate. But the downside is a lack of personal fan interaction outside of chat and the possibility of people digging through your personal background. Moving on, another positive aspect of VTubing is that anyone can do it. Your physical appearance won't be playing as much of a part of how people judge you. It's not going to matter if you're a cave-dwelling ugly bastard when you have a cute avatar. That is a legitimate concern for IRL live streamers, which is the need for them to often maintain their appearances and their background rooms. I've seen a lot of streamer background setups, and they surprisingly vary quite a bit. As for VTubers, it's not something they have to particularly worry about. That's quite liberating to know that your physical genetics won't play a factor into how people judge you. Of course, what that means is your voice becomes that more important, and the hope is that your voice is good, or at least interesting enough for people to stick around and listen to. I will, however, say that there are some heavy things to factor into live streaming versus VTubing. For one, physical gestures that you'd normally be able to do in person aren't as easily done with an avatar unless you have a wicked expensive setup. The person that comes to mind is Tyler 1, which, if you've watched him play or seen clips of him, the physical aspect of his streams play a big part of what makes him so entertaining. Like, look at him go. Oh shit. And if you really want to do something with a VTuber setup, it would look something like this. Like, look at this. I can't even imagine how expensive it was to set this all up. And here's another negative aspect to VTubing that has to be seriously considered. I'm not sure why this is, but it seems that female VTubers are vastly more popular than male VTubers. And I say that this is odd because when it comes to normal live streaming, the most popular live streamers are predominantly male. This isn't to dismiss the success of female streamers like Pokimane, Loserfruit, or Kitty Plays, but it's still mostly dominated by men, with people like Ninja, PewDiePie, Shroud, Summit, and so forth all at the top. I don't know the political implications of this, but it's just an observation I'm making. And then there's VTubers. Look at who's at the top of this chart. Kizuna Ai, Kaguya Luna, Fubuki, and so forth. Obviously, VTubing is way more niche than traditional streaming, meaning the sample size isn't nearly as big, and this is something to seriously consider if you're male. But who knows? For all I know, several years from now, there's going to be way more male VTubers. Alright, the third advantage of VTubing that I can think of is how wildly creative a person can be with their avatars, especially from what I've seen from both Hololive and Niji-Sanji members. Often these VTubers start with a base character that they play up, and as they stream more, there's this nice merging of the character and the actual person that's streaming, which can be very endearing to see. For example, look at Gibora. She used to be a very pure, innocent character at the start of her debut, and now look at her. I will also say that if the fan base is big enough, I think having a visually interesting avatar can lead to exciting creative fan art that even people outside of the fan base can appreciate. My buddy Peter said that he'd seen good fan art of Gargura before he even knew who she was. It creates this healthy ecosystem where good fan art of a character gets people to check out the artist and for people to check out the VTuber's channel. It's really a win-win-win for the fans, artists, and for VTubers. I'm gonna go on a short tangent, but don't get me started on the power of memes. I can't express how much memes have really helped VTubers grow their channels. I know it started with the N-word incidences, but it's grown so much more from there. I'd highly recommend you watch Chronokai's Hololive in a Nutshell video. It's a fantastic love letter to the Hololive VTuber community. So yeah, having a visually interesting avatar can lead to engaging fan art, and the power of memes is quite broken. In summary of everything, there's a lot of positives to VTubing, like keeping one's anonymity, not having to worry about one's physical appearance or physical background, and the potential of being very creative with the character. The downsides are not being able to have in-person interactions with fans, worrying about the possibility of someone digging through your background, needing an expensive setup to be creative with movement or interaction in the real world, and a heavy preference, as of now, for female VTubers. But yeah, that's my take on the state of VTubing right now. It's still a pretty niche community, but I'm looking forward to seeing its growth. Personally, I've come to love VTubers and the community around it. It's just all around fun, and I've been able to find a few of them that I just vibe with. The three that I mainly watch the most is Gargura, Amelia Watson, and Uzura Subaru. They're all pretty fantastic, and I'd suggest you check them out too. Or not, there's a lot of VTubers. Go check around, there's like an unbelievable number of clips of them out there. Yeah, that's the end of this video. Like and subscribe, and leave a comment if you want more content like this, or if you just want to talk about VTubers. I'm sure there's some things that I left out in the broad topic of VTubing, especially with the smaller communities on Twitch, but this is what I know and this is what I've got. School is really ramping up the work, and I'll upload when I can. I've got this other video idea that's cooking that I really want to talk about, so look forward to that. Shout out to Sentarou. She helped me look at the script and in general is a pretty cool person. We don't talk a whole bunch, but when we do, I really enjoy our talks about VTubers. It's nice to have someone to talk to that's completely in the rabbit hole like I am. Yeah, that's all I've got to say. This is Kang signing out. Take care, guys. Bye.
What